Hi folks, here we have a standard analog meter, a power meter that you would find at the side of your house where the power comes into your house and obviously is wired into the meter to take account of how much power you're using so you can be charged for your electricity. Now, this is an analog meter, and obviously if you have a smart meter it operates the same way, except obviously a smart meter can be read remotely with regarding the amount of power that you use. But with an analog meter you have this man that generally comes around and does a meter reading for your house. Now, in the old days the meters were magnetic, and people used to be able to put magnets on either side of the meter to slow down the revolving disc that's there. So this disc here, depending on the amount of power you're using, revolves around, turns around, and if you're using a lot of power that will be going quite fast. If you're not using much power it moves very slowly, and of course the numbers represent how much power you're using. Now, these modern analog meters are built with non-ferrous metals, which means if I take my magnet and I try and use a magnet on this meter, it's not going to work because it's not magnetic. Okay, so the idea of getting magnets on your meter to slow down the actual dial there, the revolving disc, that idea won't work anymore because they're using non-ferrous metals. So that's no good. So magnetic magnets being used to do that, it's no good anymore. Now, people will say, as I said, this is for entertainment purposes only. How do we bypass the meter? Say if you wanted to bypass the meter for some reason, I'm sure there's some legitimate reason why you might want to bypass a meter, and you're qualified to do it, obviously, because you don't want to be playing around with meter. It's dangerous, it's high voltage, and tampering with a meter, it's illegal. So this is for, as I mentioned, entertainment purposes only. So the principle of the meter is very easy. Basically you have the power comes in from the electricity supply. So we'll pretend this is the electricity that's coming in to your house. Okay, I have a plug on this, so I'm going to plug it in and show you. So that's going to be the electricity coming in, and then this cable coming out here will be the power that you're going to use in your house. So I'll show you that working. So if I plug in the power supply and I switch on the light, so that's basically how a meter works. The power comes in, it gets logged on the meter, and the power comes back out, and you can use the power in your house. So what if you wanted to bypass, as I said earlier, what if you wanted to bypass the meter? Well, the meter has to be wired in a different way, which I'll show you now when I get this all wired up, and I'll show you how the alternative way to run power and how to do it. So folks, we have it all wired in now to bypass the meter. Your meter might become faulty, or there might be an issue with it, and if it does break and the power's not going through, you might need to bypass the meter. Again, you need to have a professional person do this. You're dealing with power and voltages that can kill you. Okay, so it's important that you are qualified, or you get somebody who knows what they're doing to do this, because power kills. Okay, so just remember that. And also, this is a proof of concept, it's for entertainment purposes only. I do not recommend you do this because tampering with meters is illegal and you can be fined or jailed. This is why I'm using a meter that's not connected to the mains in any way, shape or form. It's only an experimental meter, and I use this for playing around with and trying different things. Okay, so basically what we have is we have the meter there, and then we have a switch that's wired that bypasses the meter, the power that's coming in. Although the power that's coming in is still wired into the meter, when I flick the switch, it will bypass the meter and the power will run up and still light the light bulb. And that's the idea of bypassing the meter. As I say, this is live power, so you have to be very careful. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug in the power. And we'll switch on the light switch. So we know the light switch is now working. Okay. Now what we would do is, with the switch down here, all you do is just flick that switch, and although you don't realize, you think that it's still lit, the bulb is still lit, we're actually now bypassing the power. And instead of it going into the meter, up into the meter, I'll just raise the camera there, instead of the power coming up into the meter, around and back out, it's actually coming in through the lead, coming into this cable. See, this connection here is taking the tapping from that cable, which goes into the meter, and it goes into the switch here, and then it goes over to this junction over here, and then it comes out and it lights the light bulb. So obviously if I had something more powerful to show you, the meter would be going faster and you'll see the actual disc stopping when it's switched over. Now if I want to switch it back to the mains, all I do is flick the switch and switch it off, and then that will come back on. And as I say, if I had something more powerful, it's low voltage here really, I don't want to put anything more powerful in, but you would see the disc turning, and as soon as I flick the switch, the disc would stop and the power would be rerouted, and then when I flick the switch off, the power would come back and the disc would start turning again. Now I am going to try and get something, I might do a part 2 to this, and I will find something that's more beneficial, where you can actually see the disc spinning and then you see it stop. Unfortunately I don't have anything at the moment, but the plan will be to, maybe down the line I might put a 100 watt bulb or 200 watt bulbs. These bulbs that I'm using are LED bulbs, and although they're rated for 100 watts, they're only using like something like 5 or 6 watts of power, so you won't see the disc moving at the moment. But there you go. So it's just a simple experiment, proof of concept. Should your meter break in any way, shape or form and you need power, this is a way to actually reroute your power. But I will say, you're dealing with electricity that can kill you. So just make sure that you use a qualified person, or that you are qualified to do this. If you tamper with your own smart meter or analog meter, it is illegal, and you could go to jail and be fined, and you could kill yourself as well. So I do not recommend it. This is only for entertainment purposes and for doing a bit of testing. Cheers.